Some images don't just capture a moment, they fracture reality. From ghostly figures appearing in family portraits to strange shapes orbiting Earth, these photos challenge logic and science, leaving even the most skeptical minds grasping for answers. Why was a spaceman standing behind the little girl in the 1964 snapshot when no one else was there? How did a giant sea creature end up in a photo off Hook Island with no trace ever found again? And what is the Black Knight satellite? An alien artifact or just a trick of light? These aren't blurry hoaxes or Photoshop illusions. They're real photographs, verified and debated for decades, yet still unsolved. As we journey through these eerie frames, frozen in time, prepare to question what you know, what you believe, and what science still cannot explain. Unexplained photos from Area 51, Bob Lazar era and leaked imagery claims, late 1980s to 90s. Early radar surveillance photos showed high-flying objects during secret test flights. Civilians and even military radar operators captured high-altitude vehicles that looked alien-like due to their unusual speed. The U-2 flew at altitudes of 60,000 feet and above, surpassing civilian expectations at the time. These photos fed UFO reports and sparked decades of speculation about aliens, which is now explained mainly as experimental aircraft. Alleged diagrams and blurry pictures of disc-shaped crafts and alien tech near Area 51. Lazar claimed to have worked on reverse engineering alien spacecraft using Element 115. Low-quality photos allegedly showed saucers, metallic discs, and glowing objects. No verifiable proof is available. Most of these images are dismissed due to a lack of metadata and anonymous sources. Photos of Element 115 show artistic renderings or fabricated images of alien reactors and anti-gravity drives. The supported alien propulsion systems tied to Lazar's claims and diagrams are labeled as classified. Still, no verified photo evidence of such technology has been found. The camera was still capturing, and the video shows a humanoid look-alike in an alien body being dissected by military scientists. Connections to Area 51 claimed the location of the storage of the Roswell wreckage and bodies. The video is widely believed to be staged, but photos from the area circulate as proof. Scientists say it has largely been debunked as a hoax, and no forensic evidence supports its authenticity. Haunting images taken in the Bermuda Triangle. The disappearance of the USS Cyclops in 1918 is a time frozen in an image, a black-and-white photograph of the USS Cyclops, a massive naval cargo ship. Before the boat disappeared, along with 309 crew members on board, one final photo was captured. No distress signal was sent, and no wreckage was found. Visually, the photo was disturbing due to the stark contrast between the tranquil water in the sea and the complete disappearance of the ship. The fact that it was the most significant failure in saving people's lives in the history of the United States Navy, and that no wreckage has ever been found, remains a central part of this incident that remains unexplained to date. The loss of Flight 19. The disappearance of Flight 19 and the Lost Squadron happened in 1945. The photo includes the historical presence of TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, which are depicted as the aircraft that were part of Flight 19. The photographs show a confident Air Force pilot preparing for a routine mission, but during flight training, 5 of the planes disappeared. During their last radio contact, they were heard saying, "Everything looks weird, even the water. We are about to enter the white water." The images of the flight are almost ghostly, their appearance due to the eerie absence of any part of the wreckage, which is followed by no landmarks in sight. At the same time, the compass malfunctioned, and the crew became disoriented from their heading. The aircraft was going to run out of fuel in a matter of seconds. If an unexpected storm had occurred, the fighter jets could have been lost by now, or, even worse, out of fuel. However, no wreckage has been located to date. Mysterious photos from Chernobyl's exclusion zone. In the aftermath of 1986 to the late 1980s, photos of evacuation and abandoned homes, schools, hospitals, and daily goods that were left behind when people left everything behind and departed without warning. Children's toys and textbooks are among the items that appear in the unsettling scenes. personal possessions that have been stuck in time within the confines of apartments that have been abandoned. The photographs, which were in both black and white and color, showed the hasty evacuation, evident in the open doors, partially packed suitcases, and empty streets. The unsettling calm and stillness seen in these images represent the sudden and unexpected interruption of everyday activity. Photographs of the liquidators, who were workers wearing protective equipment while they cleaned up radioactive rubble and constructed the initial sarcophagus over Reactor 4. Photographs depict the extent of the destruction, as well as the hazardous cleanup efforts underway. These images also show the twisted metal, the damaged infrastructure, and the reactor itself, which is still smoking. Zone abandonment and natural reclamation occurred between the early 1990s and the 2000s. Photographs of schools, factories, and amusement parks that were falling into disrepair, as well as of apartments that were disintegrating, were taken. The iconic Ferris wheel in Pripyat was particularly noticeable due to its advanced state of decay and rust. The inside of the dwellings evoked the sense of a ghost town, with overturned furniture, peeling wallpaper, shattered windows, and graffiti visible throughout. There are several indicators that nature is making a comeback, such as trees sprouting through roads that have been damaged, vines making their way into buildings, and animals roaming freely now that the surrounding area is no longer populated. Additionally, the Red Forest, once devastated by radiation, is now depicted in photographs as a barren landscape with charred trees, creating a stark contrast with the greenery that is gradually returning. Creepy pictures captured in Japan's Aokigahara Forest. Historical background in early photography from the pre-20th century to the mid-1900s reveal that the forest located at the base of Mount Fuji has been associated with spiritual folklore, death, and ghosts for a considerable time. It was once referred to as the Sea of Trees. This forest is now known as Aokigahara, and it is the place where the forest horror stories begin. The dark, shaded forest depicted in the early black and white photographs, with its thick moss and volcanic rock, is practically impossible to navigate through. Although just a few pictures from this time period catch anything that is obviously creepy, the impenetrable forest creates an unsettling atmosphere. Aokigahara became well known as a popular place for people to commit suicide throughout the middle of the 20th century. The number of suicides that were being recorded was rising, and as a result, the media began to pay attention to the issue starting in the 1950s. It became famous and well known to the locals as the Suicide Forest as a result of these developments. Images that were shot by members of the press or law enforcement in the early days of documentation show abandoned campsites, personal possessions, and, on occasion, bodies. Photographs of police officers in black and white reveal several spooky abandoned items, such as shoes, bags, letters, and, occasionally, disturbed ground or nooses hanging from trees. Pictures taken during this time period visually document the forest's environment, illustrating its deep, calm, and dark nature, with very little light entering the canopy, creating a nearly claustrophobic sense. The feeling of unease is heightened in several pictures due to the presence of mist and fog. Photos from the pyramids that science can't explain. The photographs captured during the 1800s excursions to Egypt were the earliest images ever obtained. Europeans conducted these missions. These images were taken during the mid-1800s and early 1900s. They seized control of the Great Pyramid of Giza, as well as the pyramids that surround it. The majority of these images were in black and white. The photographs provided here depict the current state of the pyramids, which have had the majority of the sand covering them removed. In addition, they reveal that a number of the oldest archaeological sites are currently being excavated. Photographs serve as a record of the universe's massive scale and exact geometry, which even the scientists of the early days believed to be noteworthy. The term visual anomalies refers to visual irregularities observed in early photographs for which there is no explanation. In these early images, there are a few that show shadows, light flares, or odd shapes, which create the appearance that they are either inside the pyramids or in close vicinity to them. These abnormalities were not fully understood during that period. These oddities were typically disregarded as antiques because the photography equipment available at the time was basic. Nevertheless, there were several instances when these oddities piqued people's interest in the possibility of secret rooms or energy. Strange images found in Antarctica's ice. The first photograph ever taken of the ice fields of Antarctica, where early explorers such as Ronald Amundsen and Ernest Shackleton captured black and white images of the extensive snowy landscapes, glaciers, and icebergs that they found there. There were a few photographs that displayed bizarre forms of ice, such as early images that recorded ice caves, towering ice cliffs, and peculiar patterns on glaciers. These pictures were sometimes referred to as alien landscapes because of the strange shapes and scale of these ice formations. The emergence of aerial surveys in the 1940s and 1950s led to the development of aerial and satellite imagery, which were new technologies in the mid-20th century. As a result of these advancements, researchers were able to observe photographs that contained puzzling geometric shapes and straight lines on the ice. Some of the images showed patterns that appeared unnatural, which gave rise to theories concerning lost civilizations or secret bases that were hidden beneath the ice. Since the 1970s, satellite images have revealed massive ice sheets covered in strange cracks and dark spots that appear to form symmetrical shapes or structures resembling those made by humans. These structures have shadow patterns and unusual markings, which some people have interpreted as possible evidence of buried anomalies or artifacts. In the mid-20th century, advancements in infrared and X-ray imaging technology led to the development of infrared and X-ray photos aimed at detecting hidden chambers or voids inside the ice. In some images, faint outlines of cavities or tunnels appeared, sparking theories about undiscovered internal structure or secret passages. These photos raised questions science has not fully answered. Some voids remain unexplored or unconfirmed. Mysterious photos taken inside the Vatican archives. The Vatican's secret archives, formerly known as the Vatican Apostolic Archives, house vast collections of archives, including papal correspondence, state papers, registers, and other documents. Some of these documents stretch back hundreds of years. The quantity of papers or rooms that researchers are allowed to access is restricted, and academics must submit an application and be accredited to gain access to these resources. Although photographing certain documents is permitted as long as it is done under close supervision, there are still a significant number of places where access is restricted. Furthermore, a considerable number of images of purported secret archives are being circulated without verification of their authenticity. It was in the early 2000s that publications were issued and collections of photographs were made available to the public, showcasing a variety of views from within the archives, including the reading room, manuscripts, shelves, wooden cases, and massive volumes. For example, there are high-resolution images of manuscripts, old papers, such as the trial of the Knights Templar, correspondence of popes, and so on, and the rooms in which they are housed in the Vatican Secret Archives, which Paul van den Heuvel published. Although the substance of these early images is not inherently mysterious in and of itself, they undoubtedly contribute to the mystery of dimly lit corridors, rows of shelves that stretch far into the distance, archaic bindings, and inscriptions that are difficult to decipher. Unbelievable photos from the depths of the Mariana Trench. The Challenger expedition, which took place in 1872 to 1876, was responsible for the discovery of the Mariana Trench, which would subsequently be given the name it is known by today. Soundings of the deep ocean were carried out as part of the mission, and a single measurement was collected southwest of Guam. The measurements of the depth were taken, and the results came in at 4,475 fathoms. It was previously believed that the ocean was not as deep as it is in many locations, which is why the notion that it could be so deep was beyond comprehension at the time. The discovery of such an unparalleled level of depth was completely mind-boggling, to say the least. There are, of course, maps and soundings which serve as limits, even though direct photographs are not available. The groundwork for visual documentation, which would be completed at a later period, was laid by this discovery. In 1960, halfway through the 20th century, Trieste, with Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh on board, began its dive to Challenger Deep, which is 10,916 meters deep. They filmed the drop on video and visually captured the bottom of the drop. There was a seafloor composition, and marine living forms, such as flatfish, were visible in the silt. However, this was not the case according to all sources. People have managed to reach the deepest point on Earth, which is currently known, allowing them to see firsthand what the environment at that depth looks like. Even though there was a great deal of darkness and pressure, life still existed. At a later time, several of the earlier accounts of the fauna, flatfish, were called into question. Furthermore, the resolution of the images was limited. Due to poor lighting conditions, the presence of dirt, and lens distortion, there is a chance that some objects were incorrectly identified. Chilling pictures from Pripyat, a ghost city frozen in time. Before the disaster, pre-1986, the happy Soviet city colored photos showed bright apartment blocks, children playing in the parks, and families enjoying cultural centers and parades. These pre-disaster photos feel haunting because viewers know what's coming, a sudden invisible disaster that would force everyone to evacuate without warning. The moment when everything stopped, photos showed abandoned classrooms with open books still on desks, chalkboards with lessons half-written, tiny chairs tipped over in haste, and the image of a school calendar stuck on April 1986, which has become iconic. It felt like the time was paused mid-lesson, a city time capsule of children frozen in trauma. Gas masks in school hallways, with hundreds of small gas masks, litter the floors of schools, often scattered in eerie and unnatural formations. Some photos show gas masks positioned on child mannequins or dolls, adding to the surreal horror. Now some might ask why they were left. Some say they were training, while others suggest they were staged, but no one knows for sure. The symbols of lost innocence included the Ferris wheel that never spun, although Pripyat's amusement park was scheduled to open on May 1, 1986. The explosions had happened just days before, and the Ferris wheel now stands still, rusted and overgrown with trees. It became a global symbol of interrupted joy frozen in expectation, but never really fulfilled. Meanwhile, some claim to have heard it squeak and turn slightly on windless days, but no clear explanation. A child's doll was found sitting in the rubble with its face partially melted. It was found near a destroyed schoolroom or apartment. Photos from Mount Shasta that hint at something strange. The mountain that shouldn't glow. Numerous images taken at night show glowing orbs and lights moving vertically or hovering near the summit. The most famous photo shows a brilliant white light on the mountain that is shaped like a disk, but no aircraft were reported in the area at that time. Skeptics blame lens flare or planes, but believers claim it's evidence of UFO activity or energy portals. Legends of Lemuria. Some photos show how strange openings on the mountain, alleged entrance to the mythical underground city of Telos, believed to house survivors of Lemuria, a lost ancient civilization. Photos often show caves that appear and disappear, geometric structures peeking through fog or snow, unmarked doors or shapes that are not seen before and are not found again. One famous photo shows a symmetrical doorway high on a cliff face, but follow-up expeditions were unable to find it again. Another incident on Mount Shasta shows hikers and photographers have captured figures in white or glowing robes standing on isolated ledges or cliff faces. Some claim these are tall Lemurians, advanced beings who live beneath the mountain. The people vanish when approached, but no footprints or traces are found. Another incident of UFOs and aerial phenomenon, multiple daytime photos capture saucer-like shapes above or beside Mount Shasta, often appearing during clear weather and hovering silently or moving at unusual angles. Some have appeared in government documents and MUFON reports. Some experts have tried to debunk these as drones, birds, and reflections, but several remain unexplained. The mystery photos of Easter Island's Moai statues. Early Western discovery, late 1800s to late 1900s, some of the first black and white photos taken by explorers, Catherine Routledge, Thor Heyerdahl, show only the heads of the Moai visible, the statue half buried in volcanic soil and overgrowth. Some early images sparked myths that the Moai were just heads until later excavations revealed full-bodied giants beneath. Modern excavations reveal that many Moai stand over 30 feet tall with arms, torsos, and symbols hidden underground, which were captured in shocking excavation photos. Excavation images from recent digs show full torsos, some with ancient carvings, petroglyphs, hands crossed at the waist, and long spindly fingers carved with precision and unknown symbol patterns on the backs, while others remain undecoded. One chilling photo shows a Moai with what appears to be a spine-shaped carving, suggesting an advanced level of anatomical knowledge. Some Moai are buried up to 20 feet deep, raising the question of whether the soil was naturally built up or intentionally deposited. A 2012 photo shows workers discovering rows of buried statues far inland, which were previously unknown before the advent of LiDAR and satellite mapping. Could these statues have been intentionally buried to protect them, or is something more mysterious at play? A photo taken during heavy rain shows water streaming from a statue's eye in a way that resembles tears, which went viral on the internet. Some believed it was a natural coincidence, while others thought it was a message or omen. The image became symbolic of climate change, with the Moai crying for the damage done to their island and the earth. Photos taken at Skinwalker Ranch that defy logic. Classic UFO captures, 1970 to 1990s. Ranchers and early investigators reported floating orbs, silent saucer-shaped craft, and lights moving against wind and physics. One early photo from 1984 shows a metallic disc caught midair, hovering silently over a pasture. There is no heat signature or sound, and no military aircraft are reported in the area. In the mid-90s, the Sherman family, ranch owners at the time, described a floating basketball-sized blue orb. A photo snapped during the encounter shows a blue glow with a central, almost eye-like core. The light appears to illuminate only parts of the surroundings, ignoring natural shadow behavior. The orb was reportedly accompanied by intense fear and telepathic hallucinations. The photo has no known digital artifacts or obvious edits. Photos of bulletproof wolf. The Sherms reported a giant wolf-like creature attacking a calf. They shot it multiple times at close range, but it had no effect. A blurry photo taken in haste shows a large grayish creature over 6 feet long. Its eyes were reflecting an unnatural amber light even in daylight, with no blood, no visible wounds, despite point-blank gunshots. The size and behavior didn't match any known predator. Some say it resembles dire wolves, extinct for thousands of years. Photos of nothing that still disturb. Cameras placed in high-activity areas captured mangled cattle without any signs of a predator or struggle. Shadows and movement blur even when no person or animal was present. In one case, an infrared camera photographed a distortion in the air, a shimmering cloaked shape, vaguely humanoid standing near a fence with nothing visible to the naked eye. Some claim it resembles predator-style camouflage, while others suggest interdimensional bleed-through. Unexplained images from the Nazca lines in Peru. First flight images, 1920s to 1930s. Peruvian pilots in the 1920s were among the first to photograph the lines from above. Early photos revealed giant birds, monkeys, and humanoid forms, lines stretching for miles straight as laser beams over rugged terrain. Archaeologists were stunned, and the builders had no known flying technology. These photos sparked early theories about ancient aviation, balloon flight, or extraterrestrial involvement. Unexplained scale and precision, some Nazca lines are perfectly straight, extending over 12 miles. Despite hills, valleys, and slopes with no deviations even visible in satellite images and no evidence of advanced measuring tools or surveying equipment from the era. How were these massive lines made so accurately without an aerial view or modern instruments? Some drone images revealed older figures buried under newer lines and cross-cutting paths, suggesting multiple construction periods or deliberate overlaying. These overlapping elements challenge previous theories of linear chronology. The bizarre creatures, and those that shouldn't exist, like the Nazca hummingbird, are showcased in famous photos. These include a hummingbird with wings over 200 feet wide, a monkey with a coiled tail, possibly symbolic, and a spider with unnaturally extended legs and anatomically accurate reproductive detail. The spider depicted matches a rare Amazonian species only visible with a microscope. How did the Nazca know the spider's internal anatomy, and why included in a 150-foot desert etching? A hillside geoglyph depicts a humanoid figure waving, with a large round head and wide eyes, but not in scale with other animals, and placed on a sloped surface. It is visible from the air, but not from the ground. Photos taken inside Egypt's forbidden tombs. The Chamber of the Serpent, Giza Plateau. Leaked photos reveal a deep shaft filled with water, featuring unmarked stone boxes and walls with unnaturally smooth surfaces and strange snake-like carvings partially submerged. This chamber is not listed on public maps, and some claim it is connected to a deeper network, possibly tied to Atlantean legends. The Lost Tomb of Osiris, a hidden multi-level tomb, was allegedly discovered in the early 2000s, with images showing a black basalt sarcophagus that is far larger than typical burial coffins. Hieroglyphics referencing a god's resurrection, but unlike traditional Osiris stories, a ceiling carving of a humanoid figure with wings not found elsewhere in Egypt. These photos are rarely circulated officially and are sometimes removed from forums. Unexplainable architecture. Inside the Serapeum of Saqqara, forbidden chambers were captured in infrared imaging photos that revealed tunnels running at impossible angles beyond the capabilities of simple hand chiseling, and massive stone sarcophagi, up to 80 tons, placed in the tight corridors, while tool marks suggest machine-like precision. How were these 80-ton boxes lowered into place in pitch-black chambers? No inscriptions, no tomb owners identified. In some tombs, such as Abu Sur and the Valley of the Kings, leaked images reveal wall carvings that are warped or deformed, as if damaged by extreme heat, and granite steps that appear partially fused. These anomalies suggest either an ancient technological mishap or a forgotten cataclysmic event. Photos taken in the Devil's Sea, the Pacific's Bermuda Triangle. In the early 1950s, 5 Japanese military vessels disappeared in the area with over 700 crew lost. A rare surviving photo from one of the ships, taken before it disappeared, shows a massive whirlpool forming under calm skies. The sea appears to fold inward like a sinkhole. No storm was reported. The ship disappeared hours later, but no wreckage was ever found. The Kaio Maru No. 5 incident, 1952, a research vessel sent to investigate the area's mysteries, vanished completely, along with its entire crew. Before disappearing, it sent back one last photo of a glowing sphere in the sky, casting a reflection on the ocean where surrounding clouds are distorted as if being pulled toward the object. Experts who analyzed the photos saw no lens flare or evident tampering, but the sphere remains unidentified. The Ghost Ship Image, 1997, a passing freighter captured a partially sunken vessel with no visible crew, drifting without distress signals. The photo shows a ship coated in what appears to be coral and seaweed, but in a pattern resembling claw marks. The vessel vanished again hours later and was never recovered. Authorities labeled it a derelict, but seasoned sailors say its appearance changed rapidly between sightings. A joint Japan-U.S. research mission in 2003 took simultaneous satellite images, sonar readings, and radar maps. One infamous comparison photo shows a massive solid object on sonar nearly 2 kilometers wide, but nothing was visible on radar or satellite. The team dubbed it the Phantom Island and attempted to reach the coordinates, but they were blocked by intense electromagnetic interference. Strange visuals captured in the Amazon rainforest. The night ape of Accra, Brazil, A photo taken in 2011 by a Brazilian wildlife photographer using a motion-triggered night cam showed a bipedal, ape-like creature walking upright with an estimated height of 6 feet 7 inches, long arms, and glowing eyes, but no known primate in the region matches this physiology. Some speculate that it could be a surviving relic of a hominid species, such as the legendary Mapinguari, a creature from indigenous folklore. Unified giant insect, 2020, Peru, captured by a British ecotourist on a zoom lens, appears to show a dragonfly-like creature over 3 feet in wingspan, flying low over the river. The wings appear translucent, but the body exhibits reptilian scaling, with no confirmed follow-up or specimen. Experts suggested forced perspective, but locals referred to a mythological insect known as the Kapora's messenger. Strange structures and ruins. Satellite images of geoglyph circles, discovered 2009 to 23, where dozens of strange circular and square geometric earthworks were photographed from above, buried beneath jungle canopy. Most are perfectly symmetrical, sometimes aligned with celestial patterns. Meanwhile, some photos show 400-plus glyphs across Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru, but many predate the Inca, suggesting an older, more advanced society. Some believe this proves the existence of a lost Amazonian civilization, possibly the fabled city of Z. A mysterious stone face in the Javari region, 2015, a hidden sculpture resembling a massive human face, partially overgrown, was photographed by a documentary crew with permission from indigenous guides. Images from Stonehenge that scientists still debate. Crop patterns and hidden geometry. Aerial photographs taken during dry summers reveal crop marks and shadow lines that indicate missing stone holes, forming concentric circles and alignments that suggest a much larger complex, possibly including additional wooden structures or monuments. The whole layout becomes visible from the air. Some researchers believe these points indicate a once massive ceremonial city, far larger than previously assumed. NASA and ESA satellite overlays confirm the central axis of Stonehenge is perfectly aligned with the midsummer sunrise and midwinter sunset. Several lesser-known alignments coincide with lunar standstills and eclipses, while some of this precision was only recently understood through photo analysis. Could Neolithic builders have possessed advanced astronomical knowledge, or was it acquired through trial and error over generations? Structural photos that don't add up. Close-up, high-res photos show the Sarsen stones have smooth joint cuts that look almost as if they were machined. Some stone surfaces show no tool marks. In areas where significant shaping would be required, were these stones carved using lost techniques, or is this evidence of advanced pre-bronze technology? Time-lapsed photography reveals that some rocks appear to erode differently despite being the same type of stone, and this has led to speculation that specific stones were treated or altered in unknown ways. Are we seeing signs of selective preservation, ancient chemical treatment, or modern restoration cover-ups? The magnetic shadows infrared photography from archaeological surveys revealed unmarked features underground that form perfect geometric shapes, while some stones appeared to disrupt magnetic fields, casting unusual shadows or creating anomalies in imaging scans. Could this suggest the stones have energetic or geomagnetic properties? Why would ancient people care? Mysterious photos from Machu Picchu's hidden corners. High-resolution macro shots reveal massive stone blocks that fit together with such precision that not even a razor blade can fit between them. However, there is no mortar, no tool marks, and oddly rounded inner corners on some of the stones. These stones are estimated to weigh over 50 tons. Experts still debate how the Inca, with no iron tools or wheels, managed to cut and move these stones with such precision. The melted stone photo, disputed, a 2015 image shows a stone block with flowing, almost liquid-like curves, as if it had been softened and molded with no known technique at the time that could have produced such an effect. Theories range from ancient heat-based stone shaping to weathering, but the shape remains unique. Some fringe theories claim to have lost high-heat technology or even geopolymer knowledge, similar to that speculated about in ancient Egypt. Drone image of a buried temple, 2018. Drone footage taken just beyond the tourist path reveals what appears to be a stone structure covered in vegetation with steps and corner angles resembling Incan design. Official maps mark the area as inaccessible or natural hillside. The photos sparked debate about how much of Machu Picchu remains hidden beneath soil and jungle. A controversial image surfaced online showing a sealed rectangular doorway under a prominent building, photographed using ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging. The photo is linked to the infamous Tampu Tuku, or Door of the Serpent, legends believed to lead to an underground chamber. Peruvian authorities denied excavation permits, and the area remains closed, but some believe it guards royal tombs or artifacts of power. Bizarre pictures from the ruins of Petra. Some photos show massive tombs and temples, such as the Treasury, Al-Khazna, carved with extreme detail directly into the cliffs. There's no clear evidence of scaffolding or large-scale tools, yet the precision resembles Roman temples. Some photos taken during solstices show sunlight illuminating exact carvings or altar spots, suggesting that these alignments may reveal unknown astronomical knowledge. Images reveal small channels etched into rock faces, part of a complex hydraulic system that collected water in the desert. It's bizarre because Petra was in a hyper-arid environment, yet they had year-round water. The Roman takeover and gradual decline, 2nd to 6th century CE. The Romans annexed Petra in 106 CE, after which the city gradually declined due to shifts in trade and natural disasters. Some modern aerial photos show straight Roman streets ending abruptly in ruins, and it appears as if a city was frozen mid-expansion. Interior images reveal evidence of Christian symbols painted over Nabatean tombs, reflecting a transformation from death to worship. Some drone photos show massive stone columns lying shattered like dominoes, and it is bizarre because the destruction appears sudden and eerily symmetrical, as if the ground swallowed the city. Petra was largely abandoned and forgotten by the West. Local Bedouin tribes remained, but the town was buried by time and sand. The 19th century explorers photographed tombs half covered in sand, with only the tops visible, which is bizarre because the sand appears to have consumed the city, hiding it deliberately. Unexplained images from the Great Wall of China. Early fragmented walls pre-221 BCE. Warring States period, characterized by regional walls constructed by separate kingdoms before unification, as evidenced by photos that reveal walls that begin and end abruptly, seemingly unfinished or forgotten. Were these decoys? Were they erased by time? Intersecting walls with no logical flow and satellite images show multiple wall paths crisscrossing or intersecting at strange angles. Why build overlapping barriers with no clear military function? With exposed burials near the wall, where drone photography reveals skeletal remains near early wall foundations, some suggest that these were mass graves of laborers. In contrast, others believe these were sacrifices or rituals. Qin Dynasty Unification, 221 to 206 BCE. The first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, ordered many walls to be connected, forming the foundation of the Great Wall. Close-up images show faces, masks, or grotesque expressions in the wall bricks. Was this graffiti? Secret symbols? Subsurface voids were detected by ground radar. Some imaging reveals sealed cavities beneath wall segments believed to be the burial sites of deceased workers. In contrast, other sites remain sealed and unstudied, with wall segments built around empty space. Some aerial photos show wall curves around invisible obstacles, such as empty fields. Were they protecting sacred areas or avoiding something? Han Dynasty Expansion, 206 BCE to 220 CE. Some walls extended into western China to protect Silk Road trade routes, while remote towers often featured no doors or windows, and some were completely sealed. Could they be symbolic, decoys, or contain unknown contents? Thermal photos show bricks that absorb heat differently, turning pitch black, which may indicate ancient fire, unknown chemical processes, or even meteor impact remnants. Photos from the Arctic that shouldn't exist. Between the years 1800 and the early 1900s, Phantoms were responsible for the first exploration and discoveries made. Until the advent of satellite maps and global positioning systems, Arctic explorers had to rely on methods such as compass navigation, celestial navigation, and sheer determination to navigate the region. However, even in the present day, some photographs taken during these expeditions continue to remain a mystery. These photographs were taken during a specified time period. There is a towering, geometrically perfect pillar that appears to stand in the middle of an ice field in a photograph taken by a Norwegian expedition, but it is grainy and hazy. Some experts claim that no rock formation in that region has ever been found that is even remotely comparable to the one. What natural processes have resulted in the formation of artifacts or structures? The organization's archives were the source of the photograph, which was obtained through a covert method. A piece of glacier ice that is definitely carved to resemble a human face, complete with eyes, lips, and even an expression, is captured in an image shot during the catastrophic balloon expedition that Salomon August Andre was on. Salomon August Andre took the photograph in question. During the time that Salomon August Andre was going through the experience, the picture was taken. Haunted photos from London's Tower of Terror. As early as the 12th century, the tower gained a sinister reputation due to executions, imprisonments, and mysterious deaths. Although there is no photographic evidence from this period, many stories were passed down in oral tradition. Tudor-era executions, 1500s, where Anne Boleyn, 1536, was executed on Tower Green. Multiple sightings of her ghost were reported, and Lady Jane Grey, 1554, was executed at age 16, where there was a sighting of a pale figure at the windows of the Queen's house. Margaret Pole, 1541, was brutally hacked to death during execution, and her ghost allegedly replays the traumatic event. Visitors have reported apparitions in photographs near Tower Green, including orbs floating in the day and unidentified female figures in long Tudor-style dresses. The Princes in the Tower, Edward V and Richard. The Duke of York mysteriously vanished in the Bloody Tower and was allegedly murdered by their uncle, Richard III. This haunting became a central legend of the tower. Some tourists claim to have captured ghostly childlike figures standing near the Bloody Tower's staircase. Others report hearing laughter or the footsteps of children, followed by some photos showing white silhouettes, small handprints on misted windows, and dark shadows behind glass, even in full daylight. The Ghost Bear, Martin Tower. A sentry claimed to be attacked by a phantom bear near the Martin Tower in the early 1800s, and he lunged with his bayonet, which passed through the creature, and the guard collapsed and later died. Mysterious photos captured in the Ural Mountains, the Dyatlov Pass. In late January 1959, a group of 10 experienced hikers, students and one older member, from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, set off on a skiing expedition in the Ural Mountains. One of them dropped out early due to illness, leaving the remaining 8. They had cameras and film rolls among them. Krivonoshenko was very active in photography. The group passed through the villages and the Lozva River, navigating changing weather conditions, and deviated from the original route to head toward Dead Mountain, where they planned to camp. During this time, multiple rolls of film, from 5 known cameras plus a loose roll, were recovered. Earlier frames show the hikers in good condition with candid shots of landscapes, crossing rivers, and carrying supplies. Some images also show the group in still, white, scenic, and clear conditions. Additionally, the group encountered photos of Mansi tree markings, trees marked by the indigenous Mansi people, which appear in both intact and damaged photo rolls. After some rolls, the photos began to show worsening weather, fatigue, less scenic landscapes, and more bleakness, with some frames featuring snowstorms or whiteout-type conditions. In February 1959, the group was reported missing. The Soviet rescue team found the group's tent, which had been cut open from the inside. There were footprints in the snow around the tent, some barefoot or with socks, and some were missing shoes. Photographs show the location of bodies that died near a cedar tree, some in ravines or lower down, while others are in the snow away from shelter. Photographs show evidence of trauma, broken ribs, skull fractures, and chest injuries. Eerie photos from Italy's Island of the Dead, Poveglia. A tiny island located within the Venetian lagoon is known as Poveglia. The oldest mentions of it may be found in records dating back to approximately 421 AD. It has been inhabited since ancient prehistoric times. The land was utilized for agricultural purposes and for sporadic human habitation over time. In the year 1777, the island was placed under the authority of the Health Magistrate of Venice, and it was utilized for the purpose of quarantining both crew and merchandise. Poveglia was the location where ships carrying cases of plague were quarantined in 1793. As a result, some seamen perished and were buried there. After the year 1805, the bell tower of the Church of San Vitale was converted into a lighthouse, and the church itself was eventually demolished in the early 1800s. In the year 1922, a mental hospital care facility was established by converting buildings located on Poveglia. There are reports, in popular tales, of cruelty, experimentation, and other such things that occurred in the hospital over the course of several decades. However, many of them are not well documented in primary sources. In approximately 1968, the facility was officially shut down due to structural deterioration and other problems. In the aftermath, the island was deserted. Numerous buildings have exhibited signs of deterioration since they were shut down, including broken windows, collapsing roofs, overgrown interiors, peeling paint, rusted furniture, and other issues. Throughout the course of many years, photographers, urban explorers, and writers have captured numerous photographs, resulting in the creation of galleries that depict ruins, decay, and an eerie atmosphere. It was the island that was featured in paranormal shows, such as those that showed apparently weird and inexplicable events, orbs, apparitions, and sounds in or around the abandoned hospital. Photos from the Vatican's secret vaults. Images of early Christian symbols, such as fish, anchors, and Chi-Rho, were etched into tombs and tunnels beneath Rome. In pottery jars that were labeled with the words Veritas Abscondita, which translates to hidden truth, parchment and papyrus were found to contain fragments of early Gospels. Some of these fragments were written in Greek and Aramaic. Images of small stone rooms beneath Roman villas that have been transformed into makeshift chapels often feature the presence of dim oil lamps in some of the surviving examples. The names of saints who were martyred under the rule of Nero and Decius were written on bone fragments that were wrapped in linen. Some of the illuminated manuscripts from the Council of Nicaea contain remarks that are in direct opposition to the conclusions that were made by the canonical body. There are photographs of concealed apocryphal manuscripts, such as the Gospel of Mary and Thomas, as well as other prohibited writings, with lines that had been removed or blacked out. There were statues of pagan gods that were repurposed with Christian imagery, such as Apollo being re-engraved as St. Michael as an example. There are underground altars that feature layered iconography with Christian roots, while also incorporating Mithraic or Druidic influences. There are photographs of execution records, confession scrolls, and trial transcripts, many of which are annotated with the phrase confessio falsa. Personal letters from convicted Templars, documents with burned edges, and emblems of Baphomet are all included, and some of these documents include encoded language. Photos of circular stone rooms in monasteries that have been stained with wax, ash, and blood are examples of the values placed on ritual chambers. Hymnals that were written in chants that were impossible to read and photographed before being sealed away by Vatican scholars in the year 1444. Many of the chambers in the Vatican vaults look to be unoccupied, much like the schools that Pripyat used to teach in. There are quills in the middle of sentences, robes strewn over seats, and candles that are only partially lit. There are recurring images in Guardians of Silence that represent figures putting their fingers over their mouths, which is a symbol of both reverence and caution. These images can be seen in sculptures or paintings. Photos that surfaced from the bottom of the Baltic Sea. When deep-sea divers were mapping a trench in the northern Baltic for commercial cabling, a submersible drone discovered a sealed metal container partially buried in silt. The underwater divers found the container. The casing is composed of an alloy that is resistant to corrosion and does not bear any national markings. Heat, not rust, has fused the lock's mechanism. Inside the preserved film canisters, which were opened under supervision, were found military-grade negatives as well as numerous black and white images that had been water damaged but were, for the most part, intact. Experiments conducted by the German Navy include photographs of U-boats moored next to unmarked platforms, adorned with peculiar antennae and spherical apparatus that have never been documented in the history canon. In one shot, a bright object in the shape of a disk is partially submerged. It seems as though the sea around it is both tranquil and turbulent. Photographs of the crew with their faces blurred, as well as group photos of men dressed in naval uniforms with all their features perfectly blurred, not as a result of water damage, but as if they had been scrubbed on purpose. A picture of a vast stretch of sea, fully frozen in the middle of a wave, is included in the frozen scene. Transparent ice and fish that have frozen in the middle of their swim. The coordinates of a written coordinate that appear on many photographs hint at a trench that has been buried for 7 decades under sediment. The Baltic anomaly, photographs that are connected to the discovery of the Baltic anomaly in 2011. The discovery may be related to the famed sonar scan that revealed a stone-like structure on the seafloor, which was 200 feet broad and eerily shaped like the Millennium Falcon. Recent photos imply that this search is tied to the discovery. A series of photographs that were leaked showed divers approaching what looks to be a staircase that leads down into the anomaly. These images were taken during archaeological dives. The presence of photographs with unnatural geometry, such as those with right angles, parallel walls, and a circular depression, is indicative of intelligent design. Unreal images from NASA's Mars rovers. We anticipated that all we would find on Mars were rocks and dust, said the first researchers to set foot on the planet. When we were given things, it was not always like that. Standard terrain pictures include the following. The early photographs were not particularly stunning, but they were historically significant. The sky was covered in dust, the plains were reddish, and there were stones scattered about. Furthermore, a photo series taken on Sol 6 displayed a flat boulder located adjacent to the rover. On the 7th Sol, it has vanished, and there are no signs of a storm or wheel in the area. The notched stone is a close-up photograph of a rock that has been etched with symmetrical grooves, suggesting a machining process rather than erosion. It has been stated that early engineers made jokes about someone walking off with samples until the rock incident was removed from the NASA press site. 2 rovers in all. Currently, there is only 1 planet. The number of questions asked is excessive. The door formation is a shadowing construction that features squared edges and resembles a rectangular doorway. It is situated in the flatlands that are positioned on a cliffside. What looks to be a fossil of a coiled shell may be seen in the bedrock of Mars, as captured by the tiny imager. As a result of this event, NASA has referred to it as a natural fracture. It was discovered through a leak of emails from within the company that the entire fossil had been cropped, and the photograph made public only shows a specific part of it. Photos from the Hollow Earth. Legends of Agartha. About the expeditions of the Nazi Party and the esoteric claims, myths became motives, and those motives left photographic traces. Believers in ancient subterranean civilizations such as Agartha or Shambhala, who claimed that the earth was honeycombed with tunnels and that a race of advanced creatures resided deep within, have been associated with the Thula Society and the Hollow Earth beliefs. These individuals believed that the earth was honeycomb-shaped with tunnels. The purported Nazi mission to the polar regions of Antarctica is shown in hazy aerial images that show mountain ranges with fake symmetry. These photographs were taken from above. There is an image that has been given the name Geheime Zone 6, which shows what appears to be a significant circular depression. The Inner World Entry Map photo features photographs of annotated globe maps that represent entrances in Tibet and at the Earth's poles. Despite the picture's hazy and allegorical nature, it has served as inspiration for telling stories. Conspiracy theorists believe that during the course of Byrd's mission, Operation High Jump, which was a legitimate United States Navy mission to Antarctica, Byrd discovered a verdant and temperate territory beyond the South Pole. Some of the photographs that are associated with a supposedly lost diary depict a verdant valley that is surrounded by Antarctic ice, an unidentified aerial craft in the shape of a disk that is escorting Byrd's plane, which is most likely a hoax or an image that has been digitally altered, and a golden dome structure that is visible through the ice mist and has foreign symbols etched around it. Not a single one of these images has been confirmed, and a significant number of them have been discovered many years after Byrd's passing. The Forbidden Zone. Photos from Russia's Tunguska site. Before the blast, pre-1908, photos and reconstructions depict vast pine and larch forest in the Podkamenia-Tunguska River region. The area was sparsely populated by indigenous communities whose simple lifestyle was in harmony with the land. However, due to the remoteness, there were few photographs from this time. Later reconstructions and artifacts tell of herding, tents, chums, and river life. The lack of development created a fragile, almost mystical environment untouched, setting the stage for the event's contrast. Eyewitnesses miles away reported a glowing blue light moving across the sky, followed by a blinding flash and a shock wave. Later expeditions captured the devastation, and millions of trees lay down in a radial pattern, scorched and stripped. Mid-air explosion evidence. No crater was found, leading to theories of a cosmic airburst. Images capture the treefall zone in frozen motion. Accounts from nearby villagers say burned animals, collapsed huts, and injuries were reported. Survivors described the sky splitting in two. The devastation was so localized and sudden, it created a pause in the natural progression of life in the forest. The aftermath and silence. Remote and untouched for decades due to its remoteness and political instability, from the pre-Soviet to the early Soviet transition, the area remained largely uninvestigated. Some photos show nature reclaiming over time. Aerial images showed regrowth, but with a strange symmetry of trees growing around the ring of the blast zone. Visitors later describe a deep silence in the area, as though sound itself avoids the epicenter of the blast. First scientific expedition. Leonid Kulik led the first major photographic and scientific study of the site in 1927. Photos from this period show scientists among fallen trees, makeshift camps in the desolate forest, and strange charred tree stumps still standing. No crater found, the absence of a typical impact site led to confusion, and the site's mystery deepened. Photos taken at Loch Ness that sparked debate. Before the camera was ever installed, there were rumors of ancient sightings taking place. Carvings made by the Picts in Loch Ness in the 6th to 8th centuries portray unexplainable aquatic creatures. The narrative of St. Columba, who lived in the year 565 AD, recounts the expulsion of a water monster from the river Ness. Photographs are not yet accessible, but these legends lay the groundwork for eventual photographic claims to be made regarding the subject. The most well-known and controversial picture of Loch Ness is a grainy black and white image depicting a creature with a long neck and a small head emerging from the water. Over the course of several decades, it was widely regarded as the most compelling evidence of the Loch Ness monster. However, in 1994, it was discovered to be a hoax depicting a toy submarine with a plastic head added to it. In spite of the fact that it was disproved, the image continues to be iconic, and it is sometimes used as a symbol of belief against skepticism in movies, novels, and other materials geared toward tourists. These three strange humps in the water were captured in a photograph taken by Lachlan Stewart from the shoreline. The photograph shows three black humps that are close together and partially submerged in the water. You might be wondering why it makes a difference, but some believe that it was nothing more than hay bales placed under a sheet to simulate a creature. Following the end of World War II, it rekindled attention and was regarded as renewed evidence after a period of relative calm. A photograph taken by Peter O'Connor in 1960. The description appears to portray a big black creature coming from the sea, and it is a figure that is shrouded in mystery and causes disagreement. As a member of the expedition that was explicitly seeking the monster, O'Connor was a participant in the endeavor. Critics have stated that it appears to be produced and may even use a phony model. Mystery pictures from Transylvania's Hoya Forest. Early rumors in the first mystery photograph. The photograph depicted a silver disc-shaped object hovering in the sky over a wooded area. Although no official explanation was ever provided, it is widely regarded as one of the most explicit early photographs of a UFO taken in Eastern Europe. Some people are convinced that it is authentic, while others believe that it was a trick of light or an object that was hurled. This event marked the beginning of Hoya Forest's current status as a paranormal hotspot, a designation that has endured to this day. The clearing, also known as the Dead Zone, photographs show the iconic circular area where nothing grows. A nearly perfect circle, approximately 200 meters wide, was surrounded by a lush forest, yet no trees grew within it. The ground appears to be burnt or unnaturally bare in every season, and some seasonal photographs suggest that there has been no plant growth throughout the years. There are rumors that it is a gateway, a landing zone, or a cursed location where time is warped and scientific explanations are ambiguous. Soil testing has not yielded any definitive answers regarding sterility, a doorway to another dimension, a spiritual gate, or an electromagnetic anomaly. Some trees have the appearance of dread itself, and the photographs show scores of trees developing with strange twists, spirals, and zigzag bends, frequently without any symptoms of disease or harm from the outside. High electromagnetic energy, warping of gravity fields, and psychic trauma are all hypotheses that have been put forward. However, some doubters suggest that it may be due to wind patterns or a genetic mutation, despite comparable trees not being observed outside the forest limit. Faces in the trees, shadows in the daylight. An ordinary photograph claims to show semi-transparent humanoid forms, childlike shapes near tree trunks, and faces that cannot be described gazing through branches. Mist, motion blur, light distortions, and orbs of light are all characteristics frequently seen in photographs. Photos from the ancient city of Teotihuacan no one can explain. Photographic images taken from above that exhibit a circuit board pattern. A microchip board or modern computer circuitry appears to be depicted in the shot, which shows an urban layout that suggests an overhead drone or plane's imaging. The shot draws attention to the perfect grid-like streets as well as the geometric alignment of the platforms and temples. The usage of conspiratorial angles is a sign that either a sophisticated understanding of electrical engineering or the existence of extraterrestrial influence is present. Archaeologists suggest that it may be a reflection of religious, political, or astrological alignments rather than a representation of technological blueprints. This is because the blueprints represent the technological blueprints. The level of symmetry and proportionality is quite advanced when compared to a society that has been around for more than 2,000 years. A snapshot taken at sunrise or sunset on specific dates reveals the shadow of the Pyramid of the Sun, which is perfectly aligned with the structures that are located in the surrounding area. This shot was taken during a period when the Pyramid of the Sun was casting a shadow that was not typical. The pyramid appears split in some images, and other photographs produce beams of light. These photographs are examples of optical illusions. The photographs have a peculiar quality that can be observed here. It is essential to know about solstices, equinoxes, and even how to harvest energy from the sun successfully. Skeptics believe that it is the geometry of the landscape and the light that are responsible for the creation of visual phenomena. A photograph commonly referred to as the helmet figure depicts a figure that appears to be wearing a helmet or breathing apparatus. This is a stone carving. Several individuals believe that there is evidence of the existence of ancient astronauts or of advanced technology that has been built. It is possible that the image represents a warrior, a priest, or a symbolic figure, according to the interpretations of experts. Unsolved: the photos that defy science. The Solway Firth spaceman. The photograph depicts Jim Tippleton's daughter sitting in a field, and behind her is a white-suited figure that appears to be humanoid and to be wearing a helmet. This photograph is considered to be a scientific example because no one was present at the time, and Kodak examined the picture and discovered that it had not been altered. Even at this late hour, there is no agreement. The astronaut? Any projections? Optical illusions and extraterrestrial visitors are two of the most common hypotheses. The Cooper family hanging man. A photograph shows the Cooper family taking a picture in their new house. When the photograph is developed, a figure that resembles a person appears to be hanging from the ceiling in an inverted position. Reasons why it cannot be explained include the fact that the family asserts that no one was present, that there was no evidence of manipulation or double exposure, and that some critics believe it was damaged negatively, as there were no obvious indicators. The Freddie Jackson ghost is a photograph of an aviation squadron that contains an additional face in the rear row. The visage of the extra face is reminiscent of Freddie Jackson, a mechanic who passed away 2 days before the photograph was taken. A mystery that remains unsolved. All the individuals have been identified, but the additional face was not among them and appears to be partially concealed.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon